Welcome to the weekly shir of the Zera Shimshon. Today is Yudches Kislev, Tavshin Pei Base, and it's the yard site. I wanted to tell you that one of my favorites for him, and many of other people's favorites for him, the Tzvi Melech Shapira ben Pesach of Dinav, was also known as by his name from his Sefer, the Bnei Yissaschar. His mother was a niece of Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhinsk, a Talmud. He was a Talmud of the Chayza of Lublin. The Tzvi Elimelech was told by the Chayza that he was from Shevet Yisachar, which explains the Talmud's special feelings towards Hanukkah. He read a long piece on Hanukkah. It is known that the Sanhedrin of Chashmonaim had many members from Shevet Yisachar. And this is the source of his name for the Sefer Bnei Yissaschar. He also wrote Derech Pekudeh and Agadakala, amongst others. So we'll do the Ili Nishmas of Tzvi Elimelech. So this is a short piece, but it's very interesting. This is Kapitel Gimel in Shmais. The pasuk says, "Bnei Yisrael poru u'yishritzu v'yirbu v'yatzmu b'ma'id me'id v'timali ha'aretz aisam." So there's a lot of explicit lashonos here, extra lashonos. Kefal kol elu halashonos lirmois lekol anisim shenasu lehem. So all these extra expressions in the Torah are not superfluous. They're meant to explain all the nisim that happened to them. So what does it explain? It's brought in the Midrash in Shmos Rabbo. Shamitzriim hoyu mischakmim. The Egyptians were trying to outsmart the Jews. They wouldn't let them men go to their wives at night. They were laying literally on the ground outside. Anyway, the women found a way to get to their husbands. That's why it says Peru. That's why it says that they should be fruitful. They were fulfilling the word, the mitzvah of Pruvu in the Torah. Even though they weren't coming home at night, the men wouldn't come home. So the bed in Aramaic is called a puria, which means it's an interpretation that they can proliferate with this bed. And when it came to time when they were supposed to give birth, they would go and give birth underneath a apple tree. That's why the kids that they spread out. They like sherets. A sheret means that they have 6 kids in one birthing event. Shahayu noldu b'sadeh kishratzim. They gave birth in the field like rats. Even though there it was in the open air, they could have died. Still, the word said they increased. The angels came and nursed them. And they came and did what the midwife does. They smoothed out the baby like a wild animal, in order that they should be strong. Okay, Rabbi Shabbos, the Gemara says, it's in Chulin, Daf Chaf Daled Amud Beis. Shemin says, Sachtani imi bialdusi, the oil that my mother anointed me when I was young. He amdali be'esik nosi, that stood for me when I became old. Zel v'atzmu. That's the end of that's the meaning of the word in the pasuk, and it strengthened them. Ya'atzmu. And after it says the me'oid me'oid, their mois al shetei igulim, echad shel shemen ve'echad shel dvash. And here's the two types of cakes, one of oil and one of honey. Since the Egyptians recognized what they were doing, they wanted to kill them. So what happened to the children? Nasalem nes, and make a miracle, and they were absorbed in the ground, and that's what he means. But tamale haaretz oisam, they were absorbed by the ground, so that the Egyptian couldn't find them, and they weren't killed. Okay, it's a beautiful segula this week. Also, it says, well, a good friend of mine named Reb Simcha Ilowitz, of course a pseudonym, called me about his son Pinchas Yechezkel. Rabbi Binyamin Pashka is related to me. He had been diagnosed with a terrible illness, which he suffered for many years, causing him no end of pain and never quite going away. My friend's wife was, of course, constantly on the outlook for something to do for her son, and when she came across the school of learning the Zera Shimshon, the promise of this author, she told her son that she felt it was very important that he began a Seder in Zera Shimshon. Rabbi Binyamin went on to relate that having heard many pieces of advice and countless ideas, many of which he tried through the years of hardship, Pinchas Yechezkel wasn't inclined to try yet another remedy. Mommy, I'm not interested. Why not? She asked him, as only a mother can. I don't believe in this whole segula business. But so many people have seen Yeshua's. I've never heard that by learning a particular sefer, a person can be zeicha to brachas in Yeshua's. That's what he's saying. But people are learning the sefer and seeing miracles all over the world, she persisted. I'm sorry, Mommy, it's not for me. But as everyone knows, a person can decide what he wants to do and not do. But if Hashem wants the person to do something else, he'll make it happen. That's just the way it is. After Pinchas Yechezkel got off the phone with his mother, Pinny's father, Reb Simcha, received a call of his own. Reb Simcha, the caller, said, listen up. I'm listening. What can I do for you? You know that Chani, that I have just had our first, and I have had our first child after 5 years of marriage, right? Yes, I'm thrilled for both of you. Great, because it would mean the world to us if you and Devorah, that was Simcha's wife, could come over tonight for the Vachnach. We're having a Suda with our close friends, and that means you. Of course, Pinchas Yechezkel's parents went to the Vachnach. When your presence means that much to a friend, how can you possibly refuse? The answer, you can't. The Suda was beautiful fare. Every place was set with artistic flair and attention to detail, and the food was delicious and well presented. But all that paled into insignificance when compared to the glowing faces of the Baalei Simcha, who obviously hadn't fully digested the fact that they were the ones finally making a Simcha after so many years of waiting. I want to begin by thanking all of you for coming this evening, he said. It means the world to us that you're all here. As everyone knows, tonight is the baby's Fachnach, and Klal Yisrael is a minhag for gathering together to learn and devote our time to lofty pursuits, which will give merit to our newborn baby for his future life. That said, I have another reason that I wanted to bring you all together here tonight. He paused just before continuing the speech. A big part of me feels that the reason we are here tonight after so many years is due to the fact that I have been involved in helping spread the Torah of Shimshon Chaim Nachmeni, the author of the Zera Shimshon. Not only have I myself been learning from this Chashva Sefer, but I also have paid for the distribution of the weekly newsletter on Zera Shimshon, which reaches Yidden in a wide variety of locations. This way, I was able to fulfill the Mechaber's request that as many people as possible should learn from his Sefer. As my thanks to all of you for coming tonight, I want to give you a present. And the Baal Simcha began handing out copies of the beautiful Sefer, Zera Shimshon on Eishes Chayil, to everyone at the Suda. He also gave out parts of another Sefer that was soon to be released, the Zera Shimshon on Shir Shirim, which was then in the middle of being edited. Reb Simcha and his wife couldn't get over what had just happened. Reb Binyamin concluded, right? Here, Pinchas Yechezkel's mother had just spent a half hour on the phone with her son that very day, doing her best to convince him to learn the Zera Shimshon. And here their friend had literally handed him a copy of the Mechaber's Torah that very evening while recounting his own Zera Shimshon miracle at the same time. Reb Simcha had no choice. At that moment, he decided to begin learning Zera Shimshon on a regular basis. I doubt it will come as a major surprise to you, but I'll tell you that Pinchas Yechezkel called his parents 2 weeks later with the astounding news that the illness he had been suffering with for so long disappeared. Have a good Shabbos. Kol Tuv, Zayken Bench.